It's unstable topic with Sarah and Maggie. Hey, bestie.
Hey, bestie.
So Jill, our friend, who is
Mhm.
a listener and also just an all-around awesome person, was
Awesome.
telling me, she was like, you guys need to do a segment about NextDoor posts. And then she shared with me one of her NextDoor posts, and I'm going to just like paraphrase. But
Okay.
basically, the people of Plano are very upset with the volume of the birds flying around
The
Plano.
loudness or the amount?
The loudness of the birds in particular, like the level of their chirping, has been
Mm.
the subject of her NextDoor. People are going crazy about birds. And I
Now,
was like, this is a
uh,
very suburban problem that you're seeing.
now I will say the crackles, those crackle birds or you know what I'm talking
Grackles?
about?
Yeah, they're like mini crows.
Yes, and they're in mass quantities, but they usually only come out in the fall, and they are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and they are loud and they stink because of the poop and all that. So are they talking like about grackles? The
I don't
grackles?
think so because this is springtime next door.
I
I think
know.
it's just birds. I think they are just
But
upset that birds are taking up their airspace.
I can't believe that because I love nothing more than to sit and quiet and be able to hear birds chirp outside.
I know. I know. I love
I,
birds.
I love birds.
Do you remember
I
when
can't empathize though if they're grackles. Like if
yeah,
there is if there is a commune of grackles outside my house, I would complain.
yeah. I remember
I would send in a noise request.
my first fall, I saw a bunch of birds. It was like the fall, and I was like, "What are all these birds doing here?" And then I remembered that Texas is in the south because I'm from the north, and I was like, "Oh, they migrate south for the winter, so that's why there's so
They
many."
do.
I was very confused, and then I solved it. Do you remember when, there were birds just dying in my yard, and then my kids kept finding them?
I do remember the death of a couple birds in your yard. Was there 2 or 3
It
that
was
wound what was the total?
3 total birds in, like, a week, and my kids just kept being like, "There's a dead bird!" Like it wasn't anything, and I had to cover them up and wait for
You
Kyle
had
to
a
get home.
You had a funeral for them. You're very respectful with
Yeah,
the
I covered it
birds.
up with a sand pit castle making thing, like a little,
Mm,
like
mhm.
what are they called? Like those raised graves? Mausoleums? Ma
I
you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they have in New
yeah.
Orleans?
Like a tomb,
Yeah,
like a
like a
tomb.
tomb. Like I made it a little tomb, and then, I asked my daughter to say a eulogy, and she was like, "But it's dead. It
He can't
it
hear
can't hear
you.
me," and I was like, "Well, say something nice to the family," and she goes, "Like, tell him that he's dead?" I was like, "Yeah."
When did MJ become a 95-year-old
I
smoker?
know
You know?
yeah, it was crazy. Just during that funeral, I was like, "Dang." She's like, "Yeah,
Good girl.
everybody dies. Death is coming for us
Not
all."
wrong. She isn't wrong. But I would have to say Plano to complain about, like, a cardinal or a blue jay or a robin, that's a stretch for me.
And that's very different from my next door, I feel like.
Yeah, what's on your next
What's
door?
Denton next door like?
I'm not on it.
You're not on it at all?
I'm not on it. It's Dexter is next level
It is.
for me. So I am part of our neighborhood Facebook group,
Oh.
and it's mostly like, "Hey, we have this free nice leather couch. Who wants it?" Or, "Hey, I see this dog out and it's missing. Who owns it? Does someone want some fresh honey that comes out?" By the way, we have the best honey in our neighborhood.
Like people making honey?
Mhm. They have beehives. It was 2 houses down. They're fantastic people. Their daughter goes to Walter's school, and it is the best honey from their hives. And
Um,
so I'm like, "This is honey from the hill," is what it's called. Yeah. So that's what I follow. No one's complained about birds yet in that group, but there was a free large filing cabinet that someone was giving away recently. So,
dang.
same.
Same. Well, this is a good transition knowing that you know some of your neighbors, because are
Mhm.
you ready for a fact?
Oh my
Here,
gosh, I am so ready.
people who live in rural areas are more likely to know their neighbors, with 40% claiming to know all or most of their neighbors, compared to only 28% of suburban residents and 24% of urban residents.
I can see that. I get that. I get that fact. I understand it. I don't support it. And I'm also
I don't
curious
support
if
it.
that was because I feel like if you're in an urban area and there's more people around you, you should know more of those people. But I'm curious if that was pre-COVID or post-COVID because
Ooh.
I would have a feeling those numbers are higher now post-COVID because I know for me, I didn't really know my neighbors before COVID. And
Yeah.
now even post and so we moved like at in the middle of 2021, we moved to the end of 2021. So, but even still, like now I'm like, "Oh, I wanna know my neighbors."
Yeah, because you, like,
But
were
would you
stuck
get
in you were stuck with the people.
we're
I
stuck.
think it makes sense, I guess, when I first read this fact, I was really surprised because I was like, "Well, rural people are so far away from one another. How do they like
Mhm.
versus if you live in a city, then you're like, "Oh, hi, I see you every day because we walk," you know? But then I was like, "Oh, there's fewer." So, of course, you can know
Yep.
all of them because you
I
have, like, one neighbor, you know?
yeah. No, I get that. I when I was thinking it through, I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense too in that way." But would you consider Denton to be you know, rural?
Rural?
Rural? The
Not
rural do you remember on 30 Rock, they did the rural juror?
rural,
Do you
rural?
remember the rural jur yeah, anyways, that's a bit from 30 Rock. But would you consider Denton to be rural?
No, I'd say suburban.
Yeah, and Denton's its own city too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a suburb of Dallas.
It's not a suburb of Dallas, but it's more suburban
It's its
vibe, even though it's its own city.
what makes it a suburban vibe? Out of curiosity, like, what would you consider a suburban vibe?
Density, like the density of people. Like, I feel
Okay.
like in an urban environment, there's more but I don't know,
Buildings
maybe
up.
that's not what makes maybe urban is like it has its own
I bet it
ecosystem,
is.
but I would
It's
think
gotta be density.
but then
I think
suburban
you're right.
means like outside of urban, right? Suburban.
Yeah,
So maybe you are
yeah.
I don't know.
I
What?
don't know.
I don't
Are
know
we a
either.
high density city? Should I only know 24% of the people?
I feel like you're closer to, like, 28, 30, but you've been in Denton for a while too. I feel like you're, like, mayor of Denton.
No, I'm not even close. I'm not even close to mayor of Denton because if I was mayor of Denton, like there would be a parade for us about unstable topics. People be like, "Wow, let's really rally around." I will say a lot of people in Denton do listen to unstable
I
topics.
know, it's got a nice percentage.
But you, Maggie, flipping this back, you know all your neighbors. And you're in a city.
I am technically in the city of Dallas, but I do feel like my neighborhood is more suburban, even though I'm in city lines.
Yeah. Because of there's not up, there's more out
Yeah, yeah.
with
But I
buildings.
am in the city, and I do know now I know most of my neighbors. Very
And
do I what?
do you think that was because of COVID?
100%. Because before that, we were never home. We just had this house, and now we're home all of the time.
All the time.
And so now
All
I've
the time
become
we're
the old
home.
lady who just looks out the window and watches people walk by. There's this
I
couple that
enjoy
walks
that.
by. Well, they used to walk
Mhm.
together, and they're an older couple, and he was always, like, 15 feet ahead of her, walking so fast, and she was just, like, walking, and we'd always say hi, but now they walk separately. He walks in the morning, and she walks in the
Oh.
evening, and it's been a drama. I mean, me and the neighbor friends are like, "What happened to her?" Because we only see him in the morning. We had all these stories, these conspiracy theories about it, and then finally one of
Mhm.
them was like, "Where's your wife?" And he told us.
That she just walks in a different time of day.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then he's like, "Mind your business."
No, he was like, "Thank you for looking out for us. This is what makes a neighborhood great." Which are you ready to react, Sarah?
Yes, I am. I was like, "Wait, did we react already?"
No, I mean, we have reacted a lot, but
We
the
have
official
reacted.
question, so if you live in a rural area, you know more of your neighbors. What do you think makes a good neighborhood?
Oh, that's a great question just for life. For me, a great neighborhood would be, open like, some open space, some yards in the front, because I think if you're going to want to know your neighbors, you gotta have access in the front.
Mhm.
Uh, a great neighborhood? Like, are we talking a great neighborhood to, uh, live in, to know your neighbors?
Just like, what do you
Or
think?
great
Yeah, just like, "Oh, I like this neighborhood." What are things that you look for?
oh, character in the houses,
Mm.
trees, close to schools and things. I feel like we're on an episode of House Hunters. Like,
Yeah.
my ideal home is going to be 25,000 square feet, but I want a lot of character. But I'm not willing to pay more than $250,000. And I need to be like walking distance from like all the most popular bars and restaurants. Oh, and there needs to be a terrarium
That
for
is how
all of my plants. I will not consider a property without a terrarium.
I need space for my plant babies. That is what they always have
Or it's
some one
there's a
weird
bit
thing.
everyone yeah, Jamie and I talk about this all the time, what our bit would be if we were on House Hunters, and I think because 'cause it's gotta be something that you can take from house to house, right? So it's I think we settled on an aquarium, like, we have a really big fish aquarium set up, so we need a house that has a space for a very and this is fictional, we do not have a lot of fish. I
But
would never have a lot of fish,
but what's your
but in
real
this
thing?
hypothetical
What's
situation
your real thing? What's your real thing that's like, "Wow, we really need this," and, like, you get really hung up on it even though it's, like, probably not a big deal to other people?
I don't know, a yard. We when we were looking for this house, because we recently were looking for a new neighborhood and a new house, and it was a big yard
Yeah,
that our kids could play in.
that's a good one.
I
I feel
don't
like
think that's unusual.
I feel like mine is like, a circular floor plan. Like, you have to be able to you can't get trapped in a room. That's important for me.
See
Like, when I was looking at
so you don't want
houses.
it end of a
Yeah,
you
when
don't
I
want it
yeah.
end of a hallway?
Well, no, I mean, there's gonna be a hallway, but, like, for the bedrooms, like, we have our bedrooms are off a hallway, but, like, the living room, foyer, dining room, kitchen all make like, you can get out. There's 2 doors to all of them, you know? And that when I
Why
was
is that important?
well, when I was looking at houses, I'd get into some, and then I'd, like when I was looking for them, and then I realized that I really don't like when I can't get out when there's not 2 doors, you know? Not
That's
doors, but, like,
interesting.
open areas. Like, you go into the kitchen and
But
then you're like, "I gotta turn around. I can't just keep walking. I gotta." And then
can't
you
keep walking.
imagine people coming over, and then you're, like, you're somewhere, and then people are cornering you, and you're like, "Ah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to host a party," you know?
Yeah, that would be a fun house hunter episode. I'm like, I would get into a space and pretend like you're coming at me, like you're trying to have a really awkward conversation about joining your multi-level marketing campaign. Like, can you just role play with me? And I want to see if I can get out of this room before you ask me to be part of your downline.
Exactly.
And like someone would have a timer,
Yeah.
like the other person would be like, okay, go.
Mhm. And I would
And
and
then like
you could get trapped, and you'd have to do, like, football moves to get out. I don't want to do football moves. I wanna do graceful host moves to get out of a room.
yeah, no, I get that. But you also don't like open like,
I don't
we've had this
yeah, I don't like
conversation.
open concept. I wanna have walls, but I don't wanna
Right.
have,
Yeah.
you know, dead ends. I don't wanna have caves. I wanna have
Yeah, I get it. I get it. No, I support that. I support that.
that's why you're a good friend.
The time's come for us to play WHEELality TV, the game where Sarah and Maggie spin a wheel filled with some of their favorite trashy reality shows and dissect whichever series it lands on. So go ahead and give that WHEELality a big ol' spin. All right, Maggie, it looks like the WHEELality has landed once again on Bravo topics. And you, like most of us, have been blown away by the major and maybe even groundbreaking Vanderpump Rules drama between Tom Sandoval and Raquel slash Rachel and Adriana. However, like most of us, you've gone a step further and have taken to Reddit
Mhm.
with hot thoughts and opinions.
Yes.
So, my question, has Reddit revealed anything new about the Scandival or yourself?
Wow. I think Scandival has revealed a lot about myself. No, I'm just kidding. Um, you know what's interesting is something that I think that is interesting about all, like, the Bravoverse is that it used to be you watch the show and you see the
Mm,
edit, and then you form your opinion based on that. But now there's so much, like, what's going on outside of filming that is brought into it,
Mm,
right?
that's a really
So
good point.
like, back when it all started, it's like the real people that are in these shows were kind of beholden to the editors, and now it's like you'll see, "Oh, this paparazzi photo, and what does that mean?" Like, Billie Lee being with Tom Sandoval, walking about, and how she had been at Ariana's house crying when they broke up, and now she's out with Tom Sandoval, and she's like,
Mhm.
"I'm friends with both of them, and if Ariana can't be okay with that, I hope that she'll come around." And it's like, you can't actually
They're
be
looking for
friends with
your
both of them.
no, you can't. She's just looking for her 15 minutes.
Yeah. And I do feel like that's something that's interesting and that I've been thinking about is that, like, so Tom Sandoval, for a quick catcher upper, is a garbage person, and he cheated
Mhm.
on Ariana with her best friend, one of her best friends, Rachel or Raquel. She has both names. So Tom Sandoval does not deserve sympathy, but people like Tom Schwartz, his best friend, and Billy Lee are like providing him this sympathy. And he actually needs to wallow for a little bit and grovel and
Mhm.
be in the
Mhm.
pits to have some, like, they're not allowing him to really hit rock bottom, you know?
No, he hasn't hit any type of bottom except for
Raquel's.
Rachel's.
Yeah. So, that's something I was like, "You know what? That's something interesting too," because I feel like I am someone who's like, "Oh, I feel bad because this person, like, made a mistake, and are we gonna cut them out?" And that was something that was revealing, was like, "No, you don't need to feel bad. You need to just let that person sit in it."
I agree. I think it's interesting what you pointed out with Bravo shows, and I'm a victim of this too. I fall to this. If you're watching a show, I'm like, I want to know what's happening right now with these people. Like,
Mhm.
where did this drama end up? Which is why it's hard for me to rewatch old seasons or old episodes. I'm like, no, that's in the past. That's dated. I want to watch now so I can be in the drama that's happening today.
But
But that's just
I
me.
have found, knowing all of this revelation of this affair that's come out since the whole season wrapped, it's really
Mhm.
interesting to rewatch. I'm very much enjoying it because I feel like I know how it's gonna end, and I'm like, "How did this get there? What are
Get
the"
there.
you
No,
know?
it's one of those great movies you watch where it starts at the end and you see the journey.
Yes! I also love knowing the ending to things. I don't care. I
Me
don't
too.
mind spoilers. I don't mind if I'm like, someone tells me every detail of a movie or a book, I'll still watch it because then I'm like, "Huh, that's interesting. How's it gonna get there?" Like, just like you said.
Yeah. So you don't have like a 2-year limit? Like after 2 years of a movie and someone like tells you the end of a movie, you're not gonna be upset.
I don't even have a 2-minute. You could come out of a theater and say,
Wow.
"Hey, I just saw this movie. This is how it ends." And I'd be like, "Great. I'm gonna get a ticket. That sounds interesting."
All
Okay.
right.
Are you ready for a fact?
I'm ready for a fact.
Farming might seem like a career path of the past, but there are currently over a quarter million millennial farmers.
Wow. That's cool. I know a farmer.
You do?
I know yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Jade. Yeah, she's fantastic. She has a farm here, of course, in Denton, but her and her husband have had this farm for a long time, and I've
I
who
bought in
says
some food from that
I
farm.
bought some food from that farm. I have purchased turkeys for them for Thanksgiving. They have a lot of great food, and she has the best Instagram
I
account.
know, I love it. I follow it. I've never
Jade
met her in person,
Winter.
Jade Winter.
Mm, mhm.
But it's a good one. I feel like she
She's
does
fa
these crafts and everything has this, like, auburn hue to it,
mhm.
like, very, nature, very
Yeah.
farm, very
And she has
millennial.
goats. Very millennial. She's very hip, very cool, but very, like, she'll cook what she has, like, and make things, and I'm like, "How do you do this? You have bunnies and goats and chickens and a farm and 2 kids, and here you are making a homemade quiche."
Doesn't she homeschool too?
She homeschools
I
too.
don't get it.
I don't understand how she does
She's
it.
a
And her
superwoman.
home's clean. She is a superwoman. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do know a farmer, and I think, like, watching her live her farm life, I'm like, "This is really idyllic." And I love this. She's walking through the grass. She has, like, rosé in a mason jar as a goats frolic, and I am like, "This looks really great." And then I remind myself there are ants in that yard, and I'm like, "I can't walk in that yard barefoot. I'm terrified of ants." So that's what stops me. I think that's what stops me from going forward with, like, this big farm country life. I'm gonna
Mhm.
support every local farmer I can and buy your produce.
Yeah, but you don't wanna be a farmer.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we have a pretty big backyard, and even in our big backyard, I'm like, "I don't wanna walk in that grass."
Yeah, I'm always barefoot in my grass. I think I am a farmer, except for a farmer who can't keep things alive, you know? I'm a farmer
Then
of
you
my
would
own
not be
children,
a
of my
good
own kids.
We are for kids. Yes, okay. I'm a farmer of my children.
Yeah. Like, they're growing like weeds, you know? Once they
You're
were
pl you're
fertilized, they just kept growing ever since. But plants, I'm doing a good job with some plants. I got some basil growing,
Mhm.
broccoli, tomatoes, maybe
You
I'll get. I
I
remember.
feel like I will be in my plant growing era once my children are old enough to where they can do some of it too, because last year, I when Annie was born, I was like, "Oh, I had a lot of flowers before, like, in pots, and I would water them, and I would start from seeds, it was great. But when Annie came along, I'm like, I can't take care of you too.
Right.
I can't get you to grow. I can't remember to water you and prune you and look up what to do with you every day. I got 2 kids that are doing that, so I stopped.
I have a goal that by the time I'm 40, I have a garden that looks nice.
You got time.
I got time.
I, on the other hand, I
You clock is ticking, Sarah Adams.
clock is ticking to see if I can have a garden that looks nice. You know, that's an interesting thought, Maggie, because my 40th is approaching. Like, I am what, 6 months out? No,
5?
4? 5? Gosh. And I've been thinking since I turned 39, I'm like, "Man, I should really do one of those things where it's like, do this by your 40th or be this by your 40th." Because you see all these people like, "Oh, I wanna run a marathon by 40." And I'm like, "But I hate running," you know? So I'm like, maybe I'll just be me by my 40th, you know? I'll just do I'm just gonna do me, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then is that a missed opportunity?
You'll make an idea of what you wanna do before you turn 40, before you turn 40.
No, not possible. Not possible. I will say when I before I turned 30, it was like, I'm not doing what I want to do with my life. And then 10 years later, I'm like, I'm doing what I want to do with my life. So I guess there's nothing like, I don't know. Maybe it needs to be more superficial, you know?
Yeah, like Botox or something.
Gosh,
You
I'm
don't
telling
need
you
it.
this,
I'm telling you, you look
I
like
don't,
you're, like, in your 20s, but I'm just
you're
saying
very kind.
that's something
You're,
I am excited to experience.
look,
Put poison in
if
my
you want to do
face.
both, yeah, do Botox, you wanna do Botox? I will say there will be a zombie apocalypse because of Botox. Maggie's heard this how many times? You knew you brought up Botox. I was gonna bring up this whole pitch. People who get Botox in their face, it's gonna turn like one day. This is how everyone they get us. They're gonna be like, ah ha ha. Majority of the world now has Botox in their face. Let's activate the switch and make this poison alive, and they all turn into zombies.
Okay, Sarah, are you ready to react?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. Over a quarter million of us millennials are farmers. What's an old-time job you think you would be really great at?
A switchboard operator.
Ooh, you would. You
I would love to I whenever I watch movies, like, I would love to be a switchboard operator, only because, like, you're constantly moving, right? "Hold please, hold please, hold please, hold please," but you can hear people's conversations, and at the end of the day, like, back then, like, when you're painting your nails or putting on your red lipstick, like, let me tell you about this gossip I got," you know?
Yes, you'd be fabulous at that. Oh,
This is me
wow.
switchboarding.
That was a
This
good
is me.
yeah, you're doing a great job moving your hands all around.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was a good one.
Thank you. What would an old-timey job that you would like
Um,
or that you
uh,
think you'd be good at?
that I'd be good at? I think I'd be a good old-timey housewife. Which I just drink martinis, let my kids run around the neighborhood barefoot,
Aren't
unsupervised,
mhm. So
vacuum.
you're living your dream.
Yeah, it's an old-timey job I happen to have.
I'm gonna demand a new answer.
Oh!
No.
But I'm
I'm
not
gonna demand a new
but I'm
answer.
not really a housewife because I have multiple jobs, you know? I'm like, if I was solely a housewife.
Yeah, but that's not an old-timey job because there are women that are housewives,
Oh,
that
that's
want
true.
to be
That's
housewives.
true. That's true.
And to
But
those
I would be
women,
an
we support
old
you.
but I'd be an old-timey housewife, like
What's the
old-timey.
difference between an old-timey housewife and a housewife?
Housewives today is like a lot more work because, you have a lot more demands. You have to take your kids to all their activities. You can't just be popping pills and drinking martinis. Like you have to be supervising your kids all the time, and that's a lot of
Mhm.
work. But back in the day, it was like, "Hey kids, clean the house, do your chores." And they did it because it was the old
Mm.
timies.
I'm gonna rebut here because knowing that we know women who were raised in that generation, right? I think those women had, like, a really hard time. They were depressed and lonely. They couldn't,
That's
like,
true.
I mean, when did they get the right to vote? They didn't have a voice. They couldn't go get a credit card with their husband's approval. So, of course, what are they gonna do? They can't own the home, so let's just sit in the home and drink because 'cause I'm miserable because 'cause I'm less of a person,
That's
you
true. I
know?
guess it wasn't quite like a party, it was more like a sad place.
And it's like a prison. So I'm giving you the choice again, Maggie.
Okay, an old-timey job, I'd be a knight, like Joan
That's
of
a good
Arc.
old-timey job.
Thank you.
A night where?
Like Joan of Arc, like I'd, be a
Ah,
woman, who's a knight, who is a legend,
yeah. Mm,
who is, like, super good at swords, and,
yeah.
probably, fights battles.
That's good. See, if I were to go far enough back for an old-timey job, I gotta have indoor plumbing and electricity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, you really thought through all the options on this question. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love a review, subscribe, or for you to share this with a friend you think would like it.
Or all 3 of those things. You can do all 3 and make our day and help us grow.